Hello, 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 people. Back at it again. Another episode of The World is Burning. Shout out to the 540 subscribers. The community is growing. I really appreciate it, guys. Give us a subscribe if you are interested in the topics that we're talking about. This channel, if you're new here, we're just looking at the economic issues everyone's going through, looking at some of these 2024 collapses. Today we're looking at homelessness, people. And this is one of the big issues that I think is really going to cripple all the countries in the world. You go on Wikipedia, you can see... each country, you can list it top to bottom. I actually didn't even think about this, but till I was doing some digging on this. Pakistan has 20 million average homeless people a day. There's some of these countries here that have an unsustainable amount. I think anything over 500,000, you're in a spot where there's just no fixing that, really, in all honesty. So yeah, I was really shocked. Pakistan, Egypt, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Philippines. I didn't think these guys would be this high. America's still topping in just out of the top 10. 653,000 any given day. England, here we are, 380,000. I mean, you guys have 10 times the amount of people who live in the country, yet we have half as many homeless people. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, it really doesn't make sense, guys. In England, we have 309 homeless people in England today. This is December 2023. Homelessness rises by 14% in a year as housing emergency escalates. This is a big issue, guys. 14% in a year it's risen. And it doesn't really seem like the government or anyone's really doing anything about it. Nice little website here about America. Surprise, surprise, Washington, D.C. has one of the largest homeless populations in the nation. The actual Washington, D.C., where Congress are, where the politicians are, 16.6% of residents in D.C. live in poverty. So almost a fifth of all residents live in poverty. Absolutely insane. Homelessness in DC, twice the national average. I mean, it's unsustainable, guys. And this is the cause of it. Low wages, higher cost of living, inaffordable housing. This is the issue that's causing everyone to go homeless or live in poverty. And it doesn't seem like anyone's really doing anything about this. Here's a nice interactive map. You can see kind of... One of the things on this map that kind of shocked me. In Alaska, 2,320 people experience homelessness. Can someone just leave me a comment? How do you survive being homeless in Alaska? Isn't that one of the coldest places on the planet? That just shocked me. All the usual suspects here. California, 171,000 people. Oregon, Washington, all your liberal havens. New York. The one that saddened me, though, Maine. Maine, one of my favourite states where I've got family and where I go. Maine, 4,411. Once again, it's a shockingly cold place. How are the people being homeless there? So let's get into it. Let's see what some of these videos are saying about homelessness. Let's check into the state of homelessness, people. I haven't seen any of these videos. Leave me a comment. I love hearing from the community. Let's get into it.
Now, a new study has found 35% of people living in the UK face daily concerns about becoming homeless.
Yes, many people face being unable to afford their
35% are fearing going homeless, people. That's a third of the country. I mean, these are unsustainable rates.
mortgage or rent as a result of the ongoing cost of living crisis. Well, North West of England reporter Sophie Reaper has more on this story.
On the brink of becoming homeless. New research has found that over a third of Brits are living in fear as they teeter on the verge of losing their home. As prices soar and stability wavers, many are being forced to live on a month-by-month basis.
Only a very small percentage of people have enough money to survive for 3 months. You compare that to just 6 or 7 years ago, people had disposable income that would keep them going for 6 to 12 months. Now most people have less than 3. Most people, being truthfully honest, have less than 1 month. So if they lost their income today, they would only be able to pay their bills for a single month.
And I know I keep going on about it, guys, in all my videos, but a fully funded emergency fund is essential these days. Even if it hurts for the next few months, you've really got to cut back on all the nonsense that you're spending money on. If there is any subscriptions, things like that, you've got to cut it out and you've got to build that emergency fund up, guys.
They launched in 2017, Haworth Housing only offered a couple of emergency accommodation units. Since then, driven by a surge in homelessness, they now have thousands all over the country. They say they're doing what they can, but that the government needs to make meaningful changes to policy, and fast.
We're not here to do the job, we're here to supplement the government in its capability, not...
Has the government ever done anything quickly? No. So I won't be looking to the government to solve this. But here's the issue, guys. When people can't afford to live and the government only makes money from taxing people, the taxes are going to go down and they're going to have to make that up somewhere else. So this is where the dominoes really start falling.
All for them. But it's a nice easy scapegoat when things go wrong. What we need to do is put the politics to one side. Doesn't matter whose fault it is now. Let's forget about whose fault it is. Let's get solutions in place because it's real people suffering. You know, this isn't one person, this is genuinely millions of people every single day.
An evening drop-in where people who are street homeless in Manchester can come in, they can get a meal, they can get advice, signposting.
In Manchester, homelessness charity Coffee for Craig are doing their bit to support those who have already been hit by this growing issue.
We're heading for a massive crisis. I think it's going to get worse before it even starts to get better. I think we're seeing the consequence of many years of cutbacks, of COVID, of Brexit, of just cutting services all the time and not putting anything back into the country.
Increasingly, the team here are seeing people from all walks of life who've been left with no other choice.
We've had people who've had businesses and the businesses have gone bust and they've had to sell their house. We've had people who have relationship breakdowns, their family can't afford for them to stay with them, or they haven't got any family. Every walk of life, every type of person can become homeless. I can become homeless, you can, people watching can.
There are now millions of Brits potentially on the cusp of losing their home and their security. And yet, without some kind of action, this is a crisis that could continue to spiral. Sophie Reaper, GB News.
In Los Angeles County, more than 60,000 people are homeless on the average night. And
60,000 people, that's like a town, that's like a village, that's like a large number of people. And here's the thing, guys, a lot of these people are drug addicts, a lot of these people are turning to crime to finance the drug addict activities, and it's unsustainable. Once again, California makes all their money through taxes. If it's a violent, dangerous place to live, these people are going to move out of California and they're going to collect less taxes and there's going to be more homeless people there, and it's a vicious circle. I mean, I did a doom loop video. Go watch that, guys, if you want to find out a bit more about how this is going to bring an end to these huge major cities.
more than 20,000 hotel rooms lie empty on the average night. See where this might be going?
It's insane. It isn't going to solve the problem.
We think this is one part of the solution. By no means do we think this solves the homelessness crisis. But do hotels have a role to play? Of course they do.
So the union he leads, which reps hotel workers, gathered enough signatures and Angelinos will vote on a bill that would force every hotel in town to report vacancies at 2 p.m. every day, then welcome homeless people into those
And here's the thing, guys, like I was saying, a lot of these homeless people are drug addicts, they're turning to crime, and they're causing chaos. So imagine if you're going on a trip to California and you're in a hotel, and then the hotel is fully got loads of homeless people in who are just on drugs, going a bit crazy. You don't want to go to California, are you? Because it's not safe for the family, and it's dangerous. So I don't think that's necessarily the solution. Leave me a comment, though, if you think I'm right or wrong about that.
Honestly, would you check into a hotel knowing that the chance of your neighbor to the left or right is a homeless individual?
Which is what I just said.
Manoj Patel voluntarily rents some rooms to homeless people who are vetted and paid for by a local church, but he's against this bill that would make that mandatory.
We barely are surviving, number one.
Yeah, like this comment here is saying exactly what I said. I would never book a hotel in LA if this passes. This one below, I won't rent a hotel in Cali anymore. I think that's what's coming if they actually enact this.
Two, we have to think of the safety of our staff. And number three, we're not professionally or any other ways equipped with any of the supporting mechanism that the homeless guest would require.
What services would be provided remains unclear. Also unclear the funding, and hotels would be paid fair market rate.
It's up to the city. I mean, they did it during Project Room Key.
The pandemic-era program now winding down that inspired this bill by placing more than 10,000 people in hotels that volunteered. Sean Bigdelli among them.
Well, first of all, it's a blessing. It's a great room. The technology is not up to par, but, you know, what technologies do you have in a tent?
This bill would also force developers to replace housing demolished to make way for new hotels, and hotel permits would be introduced, as well as making every hotel from a Super 8 to the Biltmore accept homeless people as guests.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Why not?
Maybe for some, but, you know, there's a lot of people with untreated mental health, and
Exactly.
some people do some damage to these poor buildings, man.
This happened in Manoj Patel's motel.
And she marked all walls, curtains she burnt. Thank God there was no fire. Even marked the ceiling.
Opponents of housing the homeless in hotels fear this, and fear tourists could be put off from even coming to LA.
100%.
I wouldn't want my kids around people that I'm not sure about. I wouldn't want to be in an elevator with somebody who's clearly having a mental break. The idea that you can intermingle homeless folks with paying normal guests just doesn't work out.
We don't want to head backwards into the segregated South, but that's kind of the language that they're talking about. There's a certain class of people, less than humans, animals they almost describe them as, to be honest with you. They don't seem to understand who the unhoused are. We're talking again about seniors, students, working people. That's who the voucher program would benefit the most.
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. I get what he's saying. But at the end of the day, we've all seen the videos of homeless people going crazy, and you wouldn't want to pay for a room and have them taking up the whole hotel, screaming all night, setting fires like that previous video. It's unsafe.
Our once great cities have become unlivable, unsanitary nightmares, surrendered to the homeless, the drug addicted, and the violent and dangerously deranged. We're making many suffer for the whims of a deeply unwell few. The homeless have no right to turn every park and sidewalk into a place for them to squat and do drugs. Americans should not have to step over piles of needles and waste as they walk down a street. Our first consideration should be the rights and safety of the hardworking, law-abiding citizens who make our society function. When I'm back in the White House, we will use every tool, lever, and authority to get the homeless off our streets. We want to take care of them, but they have to be off our streets. There is nothing compassionate about letting these individuals live in filth and squalor rather than getting them the help that they need. We need professionals to help them. For a small fraction of what we spend upon Ukraine, we could take care of every homeless veteran in America. Our veterans are being treated horribly. Under my strategy, working with states, we will ban urban camping wherever possible. Violators of these bans will be arrested, but they will be given the option to accept treatment and services if they're willing to be rehabilitated. Many of them don't want that. We will then open up large parcels of inexpensive land, bring in doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, and drug rehab specialists, and create tent cities where the homeless can be relocated and their problems identified. For those who have addictions, substance abuse, and common mental health problems, we will get them into treatment, and for those who are severely mentally ill and deeply disturbed, we will bring them back to mental institutions where they belong, with the goal of reintegrating them back into society once they are well enough to manage.
I mean, he's not wrong there. He's not wrong there, guys. Leave me a comment. You agree with Trump or not? Love to hear from you.
Wow, y'all. So people are officially starting to get arrested for being homeless now. It's only a couple states where homelessness is still legal. So at this point, they can start arresting people that they suspect to be homeless just for the crime of not being able to afford housing. So basically, other than Oregon and Wyoming, they're saying that housing, not handcuffs, is basically, like I said, they're starting to crack down on homeless people around the country. And if they suspect that you're homeless, from what I understand, they can arrest you.
Wow.
This is a new bill that's coming into action, so I want y'all to be aware of this. This is really, really crazy how nowadays, basically, you can't afford to live, and you can't even afford not to live on the streets. Like, it's crazy. So if you pitch a tent in certain places, or you put out, like a cot or a sleeping bag or something like that, shopping cart, in certain places in the country, you are suspect to get arrested just because of those things. So like I said, this is crazy, y'all. This is getting bizarre. How people can barely afford rent, and now you can't even afford to be on the streets.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We need to stop calling homeless people just homeless people. There's different types. There's people who've fallen on hard times or in a sticky situation. They haven't had an emergency fund. They've missed the rent and they're kicked out on the streets. That's one type of homeless person. But then you also have homeless people who've been there for 10 years. They love the drugs. We've all seen the videos, people. They're going crazy. They're stealing things, causing chaos, fighting on the streets. I actually kind of think those people probably should be locked up. Leave me a comment.
Social media has really fried some of y'all brains on how real life works. Like, just watch this video.
And spread throughout Harris County tonight, giving shelter to those who couldn't find a warm place to sleep.
Get somewhere safe and warm for the night until I'm able to figure out at least how to get home.
Kiara Jones came to Houston from Tallahassee at the start of the new year, chasing after a dream.
This is like one of the biggest populations of the social media influencers. That's kind of my goal, to become a big influencer.
She'd been staying in a motel this month with her
3 little munchkins.
That's just terrible parenting.
So you mean to tell me this woman took her and her 3 kids down to freezing ass Houston, Texas, ran out of money the first week and became homeless,
Ridiculous.
all to become a damn TikTok influencer? Now, I'm not...
You don't even make money on TikTok. That's just absolutely ridiculous. I'm assuming she didn't have any money in her back pocket to do it. She ran out of money within a week. Terrible planning, bringing the kids, getting the kids involved. Terrible.
Anyone to not chase their dreams, because I moved from my hometown to Atlanta to pretty much do the same thing. The difference is I had a remote job doing cybersecurity and IT, so I could move anywhere I wanted to.
Exactly, you got a plan.
I moved up here, I was doing that and accounting for this business firm part-time. You can chase your dreams all you want to, but doing something dumb like this while dragging your 3 little kids along with you is fucking idiotic, stupid, and she deserves all the fucking shit she's getting called on social media.
I mean, she kind of does.
I'm not trying to pick on her for
plan.
chasing her dreams, but y'all people gotta realize and stop letting these social media influencers make y'all think that this stuff happens overnight, because it doesn't. Like, y'all people...
Yeah, and this comment sums it up nice. She needs a job and possibly do TikTok on the side. This is the comment, guys. If you're trying to get into content creation, this, that, and the other... I mean, I'm not even doing this to make money, this channel. This not really something I plan on making money from. But I still have a job, and I'm just kind of doing this for fun. I wouldn't just quit everything and go all in on YouTube. Without a plan, you need a plan, people. And don't be picking up your kids and moving to Houston with a couple $100 hoping it's going to work out, because it's not.
Kanye West asked a homeless...
They were placed here after being evicted from their family home just as Holly began secondary school.
It was gut-wrenching leaving, to be honest, because that's all mostly the kids have ever known, really. We were evicted through no fault of our own. We always paid our rent and everything like that.
Quite scary, because we don't really have anywhere to go.
Holly is one of almost 139,000 children in England who'll spend Christmas in temporary accommodation like this. That's 14% more than last year, as the number of homeless families has reached a record high. They were placed...
Yeah, that's rough. I always feel for the kids.
California does have freedoms that some people don't, that other states don't. You have the freedom to defecate in public in California. You have the freedom to pitch a tent on Sunset Boulevard. You have the freedom to create a homeless encampment under a freeway and even light it on fire. You have the freedom to have an open-air drug market and use drugs. You have a freedom, if you're an illegal alien, to get all these taxpayer benefits.
What are the policies you are implementing that is different from that of California?
California's adopting leftist policies. Gavin Newsom was governor or mayor of San Francisco. He put out a 10-year plan like 20 years ago. He was going to end homelessness. Then a few years later, he had another plan. And now he says he's going to do, and it's only gotten worse. In the last 10 years in California, the homeless has gone up 45%. It's gone down in Florida 45%. But it's caused a huge problem with quality of life in California. The people that flee always bring up this. They've really empowered lawlessness and drug use. And, you know, Gavin Newsom at one point tried to say that California was the freedom state. And I just kind of laughed, like, you're locking people down, you're doing all this. But then I thought about it, you know, California does have freedoms that some people don't, that other states don't. You have the freedom to defecate in public in California. You have the freedom to pitch a tent on Sunset Boulevard. You have the freedom to create a homeless encampment under a freeway and even light it on fire. You have the freedom to have an open air drug market and use drugs. You have the freedom, if you're an illegal alien, to get all these taxpayer benefits. So those are freedoms. They're not the freedoms our founding fathers envisioned, but they have contributed to the destruction of the quality of life in California, and the results speak for themselves. People are leaving the state because they have failed in addressing the homeless population.
Well, I love the rant on freedom. I mean, here's a guy who's criminalizing teachers, criminalizing doctors, criminalizing librarians, and criminalizing women that seek their reproductive care. You're making it harder to vote. You're banning books. I mean, spare me this notion of freedom. Ask the folks at Disney about freedom and free enterprise. Ask the folks at the Special Olympics that you threatened to fine with $27 million.
Because they were discriminating against the athletes.
Who goes after
those
Special
athletes to
Olympians
be
when
out
it
of
comes
there.
to
Kids
the
with
issue,
Down syndrome.
Ron, of homelessness?
That is wrong. That's
when it
being a
comes to the
liberal
issue-
bully. That's being a bully.
Really?
They had Down syndrome and you wanted to discriminate against them.
$27
They
million
were discriminating
fine to
against
Special
because they were
Olympians.
discriminating
I find that
against the
disgraceful.
athletes.
On the
They wanted
issue
to
of
marginalize
homelessness-
the athlete. It does have.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to this before we finish, guys. Look at this state map. 2023 edition of Homelessness. It is all the liberal cities that have all this chaos. You can see the darker ones are the ones with the highest portion. It kills me, even my Maine, my beautiful Maine, they're up there and they're a liberal city, liberal state. So the facts, the numbers and the statistics don't lie, people. We'll leave it there, but leave me a comment. I love hearing from the community. Have you had any experience with homelessness? Is your city, town, state going through homelessness issues? Love to hear from you, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.